All right. Awesome. Okay. All right. Welcome, everybody. So I'm Valerie Sayer, International Marketing Director. And tonight we're going to be talking about carbs, insulin, glucose, prediabetes, all sorts of stuff. But we're going to do it in a fun format we did last month that everybody seemed to like a lot, which was a lot of work for me. And but I have to say, again, writing it, looking up research helps me again, also learn. So thank you for that. So we'll have a quiz. There will be no test. We might have prizes. Hey, no, I'm just kidding. But, your prize is you get to learn, right? And then we'll have a Q&A. We'll do the questions after, but we will ask you to do a lot where I'll take the screen on and off and make sure that you can answer questions, all right? So how this all got started before I introduce us was through the Shred 10. And if you haven't been with us for the last 2 years, we've done over 48 presentations. We've actually done, I think I counted 72, but it'll be 48 just for habit changers. So a lot of you have been with us a lot. Phyllis, you're one of them that have just been there, and it's amazing. Every time I see you, you look more and more healthy and beautiful. So it's wonderful. And, you continue to add on information. And all this really started because of the Shred 10 guidelines, which are very, very active and proactive, where we're talking about more plant foods and juice plus capsules, the right type of smoothies with the Perform and Complete, and adding those powders to your breakfast or to after workout or to foods, plenty of water, take 10 deep breaths, getting lots of sleep, being active most days, eliminating or reducing caffeine, alcohol, eating after 6, processed foods, reading food labels, less dairy and gluten, and certainly less artificial and refined sugars. Now, the thing about that is, it's not very easy, right? It's easy to say, not easy to do. So part of what we've done the last 2 years is help expand on all of these. Now we're going to kind of bring it home and see how well you've looked at all of those different pieces to help you be healthier and find out what to do that you can control. So if you don't know me, I'm Valerie Sayer, registered and licensed dietitian, registered pharmacy technician license, international marketing director, medical exercise specialist, and owner of Nutrition Connection Balance for over 17 years now. I live in Florida, Port St. Joe, Florida, and my practice is in Illinois, and I will be moving it to Florida in May. Marilyn Wright is a wellness advisor and qualified senior sales coordinator. And you can see her here. She was just here at our house with all these wonderful friends, Jody and Holly and leaders, and myself, Lori, Gay, Marilyn, and Sandra. And we put on our thinking caps and figured out how to step up to continue to help people be healthier in their health, their finances, and their community and commerce. So it's really exciting. And we're really glad you're here tonight. So we're going to have the first 6 questions. All right. Now, I promise I'll go slow. And then when we have them, I'll have them listed at the top. Of course, I learned from last time because I kept cheating and giving you guys the answer. So I did it different this time and it worked this morning. So first, how many Americans are estimated to have prediabetes? 1 in 10, 1 in 5, or 1 in 3? All right, I'll wait a second and don't panic. I just would say write down 1 through 5 and you think what your answer is, and then we'll have the question up again. What hemoglobin A1C percentage indicates prediabetes? 5.41%, 5.61%, or 6.1%. Okay. Triglycerides are very hard to measure, usually easier to lower, or are genetically dictated and absolutely directed. Okay. All right, I feel those thinking caps. How many minutes of exercise, regardless of type or intensity, lowers blood sugar effectively after a meal? 20, 30, 45, or 60 minutes? How many grams of carbohydrates is considered a very low carbohydrate diet? 26 to 30 grams or less, 30 to 60 grams a day or less, or 130 grams a day. And then which food has the lowest glycemic effect on blood sugar? Watermelon, potatoes, or apple? And then we'll have 5 more questions. I made it 11 this time because, I like to have fun and make sure you guys are on your toes instead of 10. Going to make you smarter. All right. So here's the first one. How many Americans are estimated to have prediabetes? 1 in 10, 1 in 5, or 1 or 3? All right. What do you think? You can either take your speaker off or raise your hand, or if you're driving, you can yell it out or just listen. All right. We got 1 in 3. What else we got? 1 and
One.
5,
1 and 3.
1 and 3. Anyone else? 1
5.
and 3, 1 and 5. Okay. All right. So Marilyn, you were on this morning. What's the answer? 1 and 3. Sorry, her speaker's off. That's right. I can read lips.
One
That's
and
right.
3.
That's right. 1 and 3. So that's not really a good one to get excited about, but still, it's just helpful to have a fact right again. So what you want to know is when we're talking about prediabetes, it means the body doesn't process glucose the same. Glucose is sugar. It's sugar is broken down from carbohydrates. Okay, so carbohydrates are broken down to sugar, or glucose is what is measured. Why? Okay, obesity or high body fat, that does include high body fat with someone thin. Okay, that means there's body fat around the organs. So weight is not the only thing. Okay, nutrition, especially processed diet, lack of nutrients, lack of activity, family history, higher risk, but not your destiny, lack of direction, advice from testing, and not paying attention. And of course, there's type 1 diabetes that, again, can happen when you're born with it or by other causes that we're going to talk about later. Okay, so that's what happens. And so again, prediabetes is something extremely high. Almost nobody is told they have it. And we're going to make sure that doesn't happen to you. So you have a chance to reverse it before you have to be on medication or insulin, again, unless you're type 1 diabetes. And we're still going to help you with a lot of things if you do have type 1 diabetes on today's lecture. Okay. All right, already first question done, and they get harder, just so you know. All right, so what hemoglobin A1C percentage indicates prediabetes? 5.41%, 5.61%, or 6.1%? All right, so what does everybody think?
5.41.
Okay, 5.41. What else?
5.6.
5.6. Anyone else? 5.6. Ooh, this is a little more quiet. All right, who is on this morning that wants to give the answer? Vicky, do you want to give this one? Prediabetes. Oh, still can't hear you. I don't know what's happening there.
There we go.
There we go. Okay. Vicky, what's the answer?
For the hemoglobin, it's
Yep.
5.61.
That's correct. Okay, so now we're talking about prediabetes. Okay, so prediabetes. So hemoglobin A1C rules, okay, because it tells us how much sugar or glucose is attached to your cells, organs, tissues, eyes, kidneys, tissues, all of it for the last 3 to 4 months. Also, it can tell you if it's too low, under 5.4%, I'm sorry, not 5.4, 4.6%, around 4.4, 4.4, or 4.5, you're actually starving your body. Or again, if you're type 1, then again, you have too much insulin and things need to be changed. It's much more accurate than fasting glucose. Fasting glucose is a snapshot, which is very important if you're a type 1 diabetic, but it is not very important for prediabetes. Here's why. You could eat perfect that day and the next day have a perfect glucose and you still have prediabetes. And I used to have all the time, I would have my dad tell me, and he was fully diabetic, that his glucose was normal in the morning. And it was, because he was one of those people with diabetes, type 2 diabetes, that his glucose was normal in the morning. But we do his hemoglobin A1C, it would be 8%. That is terrible. So that's doing damage. That's why he had lots of circulation issues and neuropathy and wounds. So you've got to remember it's the percentage, and that is not based on fasting, which is wonderful. It's best by either a venipuncture or you can do a finger stick. You do not have to be fasting. Hemoglobin A1C, again, tells us how much sugar or glucose is attached to your cells the last 3 to 4 months. Okay. And if your doctor won't do it by the venipuncture, especially if you're over 50, you should have it done every year, in my opinion. You can always call my office, talk to who invited you. You can do a finger stick at home and we get that percentage. Or if your insurance or copay is super high, then don't pay $400 for hemoglobin A1C. Okay. I know that even with my advice, it might be $70 or $80 or something like that. So it's not that expensive. Very, very important. All right. So you got number 2. Okay. Next, so this person here has prediabetes. Okay. And one of the last things I'll say here, also, my other group of people that tend to have prediabetes are endurance athletes for most of their life because they overate so many carbohydrates because they were exercising 2, 4, 8 hours, like cyclists and track runners. They use up some of their receptors and they tend to wear out their pancreas and their beta cells. So they get type 2 diabetes. I've had so many athletes have issues and they have prediabetes, and the doctor never tells them until they're fully diabetic. And when I look back at blood work for 4 or 5 years, they had prediabetes. So don't be one of those people. Ask for the hemoglobin A1C or get it, and especially so that you know for yourself. All right. So you guys are doing good. 2 questions down already. Isn't that awesome? Okay, they get harder though. All right. So triglycerides, they're hard to reduce. They're usually easy to lower, or they're genetically dictated and directed. So what does everyone think here? 1, 2, or 3? Hard. Okay. Okay, I didn't hear. What was number 2?
I said easy to lower.
Easy to lower. Okay, good. What else? Anyone else? Be brave. All right, number 2, Dylan, Lindsay, what is it?
Easy to lower.
Okay, that's right. Easy to lower. Okay, awesome. Okay, very good. That is correct. Okay, now I want to say simple, not easy. Okay, let me say it that way. I want to be fair because if you don't know me, just because we say it's easy to change your diet or take a supplement, I realize it changes habits and people like food and alcohol and a lot of different things. Okay. And again, if you're type 1, this is extremely important because when you're type 1 diabetic, you already have a 50% increased risk of all heart disease as well as other arterial changes. But so do pre-diabetics and type 2. Okay. So if you do not take care of these, there's going to be issues. So triglycerides are the fat or the lipid that is floating around in your blood. It's typically in a fasting lipid profile when you go to the doctor. So again, when they do a venipuncture, and I keep showing this because I had so many questions last time, and I'm so sorry. Sometimes, again, I have to remember I'm in the medical field. Someone's like, what's a venipuncture? So when you go to the doctor and they take it out of your arm, okay? And triglycerides should be fasting for at least 8 to 12 hours. Okay, so that means you only want to have water to drink in the morning and then not eat for 8 to 12 hours. So you want it to be fasting. You can do it by a venipuncture. It can be tested by finger stick. You absolutely want it 130 or under. Now, a doctor's going to tell you it's fine if it's 150 or above. It's already too late. Then you're already on your way to prediabetes. So you want it to be 130 or under, okay? And it's influenced by too many carbohydrates, stress, cortisol levels, alcohol, prescription medications, especially diuretics, steroids, and synthetic hormones or overdose of hormones, high cholesterol levels, low essential fatty acids, and low omega index. So the good news is essential fatty acids, remember, essential. We've talked about essential fatty acids. You're probably sick of it. So you guys can probably tell me and repeat what I've taught you over the last 2 years. But omegas are essential fatty acids. I write them down essential, because that means your body doesn't make them. You've got to take them. Okay. And like I said earlier this morning, there's been only 2 separate people. And I've had over 20,000 patients just since my private practice. I've been in practice way before that, but private practice that had essential fatty acids that were normal. One was American Indian, and she called herself an Eskimo. She lived in, she was a Native American, Native American, and she worked at a salmon plant. She ate salmon 3 times a day, and she was morbidly obese. But I'll tell you, she had incredible essential fatty acids and low triglycerides because of her wild salmon 3 times a day. That's not very practical for most of us, or very expensive. The second was somebody that wanted to prove to me that he could eat them through sardines and oils. And he did, but oils came through his clothes and stained his clothes. And of course, then he stopped, or his wife was, it's very funny, actually. It was a very funny time because he really had a good sense of humor. His wife was very upset with what was happening in the laundry. So, and his smell, he smelled actually. So he quit doing that and he started taking essential fatty acids. So if you don't take essential fatty acids, you want to start with at least 2, no matter what. And if you're over 50 or have high triglycerides above 130, you need to take 4. I'm just going to tell you, it's that simple. I prefer to test because there's different kinds of omegas with EPA and DHA, but I've never had anyone hurt ever by at least 2, and if you're over 50, at least 4. Okay, ever. It's never messed up any of the 8-page report that I do. So at least if you don't want to test or you have to save money, please at least start with something, at least 2 and preferably 4. Okay, so we're going to have Marilyn talk a little bit about the essential fatty acids, and then Patricia's going to play a really fun video. Again, we're going to have fun on this call. Okay, all right. So Marilyn, why don't you tell us a little bit about the omegas for people that don't know much about it? That would be really helpful tonight. Oh, can't hear you again.
Okay.
Thank
Good
you.
evening, everyone. Thanks for having me on. And Valerie, that was great with your quiz. I'm going to talk a little bit about the omegas. The omegas are one of my favorite capsules. Why do I like taking my Juice Plus omegas? Because it's just so easy and affordable. And it's not like the other years ago when I tried a fish oil, I was burping it. So win-win all the way. And why do I take the Juice Plus omegas? Because the Juice Plus omegas are made from natural, balanced, minimally processed mixture of plant-based oils from all these amazing ingredients: algae, pomegranate seeds, seed buckthorn berries, tomato seeds, and safflower seeds. When you take, usually when you take an omega, you get one omega, you get one oil. So with ours, when you take our Juice Plus omegas, you get omega-3, omega-5, omega-6, omega-7, and omega-9. So after we take them, we want to think, what are the overall health benefits in taking the omega capsules? Well, just as most people don't consume enough fruits and vegetables daily, they're also lacking in the omega fatty acids, and they are essential, like Valerie has said. It's an issue because omega fatty acids are as important to your health as fruits and vegetables. There are over 10,000 medical journal studies that show that omega fatty acids have helped just about every organ in our bodies, including our heart, our eyes, our brain. Studies have shown that people who have the highest levels of omegas live healthier, happier, and longer lives than those who have lower levels. The Juice Plus companies cut out the middleman, the middle fish, and went right to the source, which is the algae. So Juice Plus is really important to our company, is to save our environment for our kids, and just it's a major concern to the Juice Plus company. So we feel better and we look better. Did I mention Juice Plus omegas are good for your skin? And now there's going to be a short video, my first video. So here you go, guys.
And it's so good. Trisha's going to put that up for us. Thank you, Marilyn.
Thank you.
She's getting there.
Yeah, it takes a
It's a challenge.
yes.
There we go.
Hey, good morning, everyone. I'd like to show you what I do in the mornings with my Juice Plus omegas. I take 2 Juice Plus omegas every day, but first thing in the morning, what I do is I take this wonderful capsule, my Juice Plus omega. Some people like to bite the capsule and put it on their face, or I use scissors. So what I do is I just cut the little capsule a little bit, and then I take the oils and I rub them all over my face. So every morning, and the reason why I do this is I have very sensitive skin, so I can't have chemicals or anything that has anything extra in it. So you just take these beautiful capsules and you rub this lotion, oils, well, it's not lotion, it's oil, all over your skin. And then after you let it dry, you can use a foundation. Now, if it's a day that I'm going to stay home, I just put this on as a moisturizer and I just leave it alone, and it makes it look like you have a nice tan, and it's so good for your skin. And I am so thankful because it took me, I could never find a moisturizer that would work like these omegas do, and it's just so healthy for you. And after you've used the omega on your face, I give my capsule to my dog Otis, but some people just swallow it because it's a vegan capsule. So I enjoy taking my Juice Plus, and I enjoy putting it on my face every morning, and it makes my skin look so much better. So thank you for giving me your time, and have a great day. Bye.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Patricia. Thank you, Marilyn. Isn't that a good video? I'm like, man, I couldn't do one like that. So I thought it was awesome. So thank you. Thank you, Marilyn. Really
You're
appreciate that.
welcome.
All right, awesome. So we're going to go to the next question. So now we know you need your essential fatty acids and how it is the best way to lower triglycerides, besides, of course, reducing your carbohydrates, and again, making sure your insulin output is correct if you're type 1 diabetic. Okay. All right. So how many minutes of exercise, regardless of type or intensity, lowers blood sugar effectively after a meal? Number 1, 20 minutes, 2, 30 minutes, 3, 45 minutes, 4, 60 minutes. So this gets harder now. And here are my, well, we'll show you that in a minute. So what do you think? How many minutes?
20 minutes.
20? Who else? Remember, don't answer if you're on this morning. That's not fair. All right. 60, 30. All right. All right. Thank you, Gay. 60. All
You're
right.
saying after every meal, right?
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Once a day. You know, we don't want to, do it too many times. So what this study did, it's a good question. Yeah. What this study did is they looked at after a meal, especially after dinner or the biggest meal of the day, is it was 45 minutes. And the beautiful thing is it didn't have to be intense. So it's so funny because I remember growing up, we always, even at my grandparents, when I was younger, when all my grandparents and aunts used to live near each other, when we had dinner or like Thanksgiving, or we did a holiday dinner or birthday, we always went for a walk. So interesting how we've gotten out of those habits. And here you can see where Marilyn, Holly, Jody, and Lori, we were all on the beach, and Sandy's missing from this one, and me and Gay, but we were on the beach walking. So if you don't have a beach, I teach people you can go up and down stairs. You could just go up one stair and do step ups. You can walk around your house. It's really important. We have talked for 2 years about biophilics, getting out in nature. Nature changes your physiology besides that movement. Okay, so get out there and walk. All right, so great, good job. Okay, let's go to the next one. So how many grams of carbohydrates is considered a very low carbohydrate diet? All right, 26 to 30 grams or less per day, 30 to 60 grams or 130 grams per day. So what do you think? 1, 2, or 3?
1.
1, what else? Who else? 1. Oh, I can tell the people that have been attending. That's good. Yeah, they're right. All right. So anyone that was on this morning, do they have it right? Which one is it? Yes, number 1, 26 to 30 grams or less per day. Okay, now a few things I want to say about this is number 1, that for example, when someone says Juice Plus Complete has high carbohydrates, I said, what do you eat? Whenever you have a food, you take the food, and if it has fiber, you subtract the fiber. Okay. So for example, the Complete has 20 grams of carbs. You take 7 grams off, it's 13 grams. So you could have 2 shakes every day and still be on an extremely low ketogenic diet. Okay. So that's important to know. The other thing is that vegetables don't count. When I work with wrestlers, bodybuilders, gymnasts, ice skating, we do not count vegetables unless they're starchy vegetables. So when you're talking about zucchini and cucumbers and broccoli and kale and all those things, you don't have to count them at all because they're about 99% or more water and mainly fiber. So the carbs, fiber, and water really don't count for anything. So that's fantastic, right? Less to worry about. But you do have to watch the starchy carbs, which are things like, the potatoes, sweet potatoes, as well as peas and corn. So be careful, okay? So a very low carbohydrate diet is 26 to 30 grams. Now, I don't recommend that long-term. There are people, if they do a ketogenic diet and so on, I say you better be taking your Juice Plus or Extra, and you better have a lot of vegetables. And part of the things, if someone wants to eat a very low carbohydrate diet, because it does help most people, not all, and we'll talk about why, most people really help their insulin output, not always with type 1, and with their glucose and hemoglobin A1C. But some people develop depression, cognitive changes with too low of carbohydrate. So please be careful. A lot of times if someone says, I really need to lower and I don't know what else to do, I'll say, well, why don't you do 3 days in a row of low carbohydrate, then have the 4th day be more like 130 and under. Now, the only exception, there are 3 exceptions. You should not do a low carbohydrate diet when you're an athlete, especially if you're doing 2 or 3 a day exercises. If you're a child, and again, if you're in sports or you work very late and are very active at night. So be very careful. And a lot of times when I work with people that work at night that are adults or over 50, we have them do a shake or a liquid or a smoothie versus solid food. Like we're like psychologists and so on. Sometimes their day starts at 4. It's really hard, and they're hungry because they're using their brain and working. It's not the best time to always eat low carbohydrate. They need that energy. Okay. So hopefully that helps you some there. So good job. All right. Next question. Which food has the lowest glycemic effect on blood sugar? Watermelon, potatoes, or apple? All right. What do you think? Watermelon, potatoes, or apple?
Apple.
All right. Watermelon. I see number 1. What else? Anyone
Apple.
else?
Apple.
Apple. Okay. Who else? Anyone? Okay. How about Lori? You were on this morning. Which one is the lowest glycemic index food?
This one's
Potatoes,
actually-
apples, or apple?
It's apple, and it's actually the only question I got right out of this morning.
All right. That's all right. Thank you for your honesty. So, this is where I keep remembering why we repeat things, right? Why we have to keep taking a lot of hard information, breaking it down to keep people motivated and so they can really know what's good or not. Okay. So let's talk about that. And I tried to fool some people with the watermelon picture, right? It worked on some of you this time. All right. So apple, and I'll explain what glycemic index is, but apple's 39, watermelon 72, and potatoes are 80 to 100 or more. So if you have a red potato or a baked potato, it's lower, but if you have mashed potato, French fries, it's very high. What that means is a low glycemic index is 1 to 55 in general. That means if you ate the food alone, so I want to talk about that because we're going to talk about other tips later. If you ate the food all by itself, then your blood sugar is going to go up faster. That means if it goes up fast, you have to release more insulin, and it goes down fast. That's what, like if you ate French fries by itself, not a great thing to eat by itself. Okay. You don't want blood sugar like this. I don't care if you're diabetic or not, right? Then you have up and down moods. Then you feel good. Then you don't. Then you're tired. Then you have over energy, overexcitable. So the glycemic index is helpful. But remember, we eat foods together. And I'm going to give you some tips on one of our last questions that will help you with this. So if you eat lower and choose lower glycemic index foods, you may help lower your glucose levels and your insulin levels. There's 3 types of carbs, though: carbohydrates, sugar, starch, and fiber. Remember, the fibers tend to help with the blood sugar. It blunts it, so it doesn't go up as fast. Okay. We've seen the apple page. Now, if you've been with us for 2 years, an apple a day keeps the doctor away. I'm telling you, sometimes the most common sense is amazing. So the apple, if you haven't been with us, I know we have a lot of new people today. This is one of my favorite all-time pages because I have worked with some really difficult health professionals. When they see this page, it finally clicks on, even over all the research. And basically an apple, right, has only about 3 to 5 milligrams of vitamin C, not very much, 2 or 3 grams of fiber, doesn't look very healthy when you have it on paper, if you break it down. But if you took the phytochemicals, which are the nutrients, there's over 10,000 in apple. Some fruits and vegetables like berries are hundreds of thousands, including greens. And the phytochemicals are what work with carbs, protein, and fat, vitamin, minerals to make them bioavailable and keep cancer and other disease lower risk from turning on. So an apple if you broke it down, isn't very significant. People say, I'm going to take my 1,000 milligram vitamin C, but an apple only with 3 to 5 milligrams of vitamin C, if we tested your blood, would go up more than 1,000 milligram of isolated nutrient like vitamin C by itself. Isn't that amazing? The body knows what to do with it. And with nature's phytochemicals, it works together in that synergy. Okay, so it's really, an apple a day is so true. The only other thing I'll say about an apple is sometimes I live in a smaller city here now in Florida. If I can't always get organic, I do peeling. If you can, buy organic and then do eat the peel, of course, and eat a variety of apples. I loved when we had our retreat here people here because Holly and Sandra bought all these different kinds of apples and they made the most wonderful apple dessert. And it did taste different with even the apples in it. So it's so fun, again, that you can eat healthier and still have some fun with some good foods. Okay, so good job. Okay, how about next? 5 more questions. Okay, they get harder. Insulin is made by the liver, pancreas, or glucose. If you do this right, you will have most likely have a 1/3 or more lower risk of developing insulin resistance, eating 3 servings of fruit a day, eating breakfast, or eating 1 serving of brown rice per day. What are your risk factors for developing insulin resistance? You're 45 and older, you have low physical activity, and you had gestational diabetes, which is while you're pregnant, or having a parent, sister, or brother with diabetes. What lowers pre-diabetes and insulin by 32% in our elders? Okay, 65 and older, resistance training, cardio or aerobic exercise, or stress reduction. And insulin is released more with excessive protein, fat, or carbohydrates. Okay, here we go. Insulin is made by what organ? Liver, pancreas, or glucose, the substance? What do you guys think?
Pancreas.
Yay, okay, pancreas. You're cheating because you know. That's all right. You weren't on this morning. You're allowed to answer. Anyone else? Is she right, though?
Yes, pancreas.
Okay, good. Yeah. A lot of people do know that one, but it's still really important because, believe it or not, a lot of people don't. And so it's really important because insulin, I want to make sure you're paying attention because when you start hearing all the 2 years, it starts to come together again. Insulin is a peptide. A peptide is a protein. A protein is made of amino acids. They're in lean protein foods. Every single neurotransmitter in your brain, epinephrine, dopamine, serotonin, that means your energy, histamine, an allergy response. Having even COVID can increase histamine. Depression, sleep problems, every neurotransmitter is made of protein. So is insulin. It's a hormone and it's produced by the beta cells of the pancreas. Insulin helps regulate glucose in the body, in the blood. Now remember, glucose is sugar. If you're not, clear on what glucose means, it's a sugar. And so basically, lowered insulin tells the liver to release stored blood sugar. So too many carbohydrates make a lot of insulin get released. If you're not diabetic, you're not overweight, and you do it once in a while, your body will release extra insulin, help you get all those carbohydrates. Let's say if you have an Italian meal, right? Pasta, bread, and wine. Yikes. Okay, all carbohydrates mainly. Your body releases too much insulin. And again, if it's your wedding or your birthday, probably you're going to be okay, unless you're type 1. Don't do it. All right. Or do less, do really small amounts. Okay. And we'll tell you what else you can do, whether you're type 1 or type 2. And then it gets into your bloodstream. But if you keep doing it over time, the cells can stop responding and insulin resistance develops. If you have type 1, insulin is not made or very, very small amounts. Usually it can be from birth or autoimmune. It's an autoimmune condition, sorry. It's genetic or it's caused by a virus. And I forgot to write bacteria also. I have 2 patients that I've had long-term that are athletes and they have type 1 diabetes. Both had a virus. One was 10, one was 13. And so remember, COVID's a virus. So we want to make sure we're not overloading our body with carbohydrates and other things when we already have more things in our environment than ever that we've got to take care of ourselves with, okay? So how else can I explain this? Because this is really important. That another way that I explained it this morning is if we go to the gas station and I say, oh, Elizabeth, you answered so many correct. So I'm going to fill up your gas tank today. Isn't that nice? But I'm talking to Elizabeth because I'm chatting with her and I haven't seen her in a while. And I, pay with my credit card, I'm pumping gas and it's all over the ground. Now, that insulin was what happens when you have insulin resistance. When your pancreas releases too much or you eat too many carbohydrates, it's all over your cells. It doesn't get in. So you feel cranky, you're hungry, you don't know what's wrong. You thought, I just ate a bunch of food. Why do I feel bad? So that can be insulin resistance, okay? Where your body's still releasing insulin, but it's too much. all right, or it can't get in, all right? So what's wonderful about Juice Plus capsules? I like to be specific. We know that Juice Plus has over 40 studies in multiple different systems. It's food, it has a nutrition facts label, it's contaminant free. Everyone should be on it, in my opinion. It's the best body insurance I've ever found. How about if we get specific to insulin resistance? Listen to this. The Juice Plus capsules reduce insulin resistance in young overweight boys. They were ages 6 to 10 years old. Their triglycerides, their abdominal fat mass, and their insulin sensitivity improved. That is a 6 to 10-year-old, 1 fruit and 1 vegetable capsule. Do you get how important this is if we're getting older? For goodness sake, especially when I talked about athletes, they're typically, when we're talking about the athletes I've seen with type 2 diabetes, they're not overweight, they're still exercising, but they have overused their receptors. So we've got, and just as we get older, we're at higher risk. After age 50, we produce less insulin. Some people only go down 1%, some people go down 10%. So sometimes it's just part of aging. So we want to do everything we can. The other thing that's important, this was published in the Journal of Pediatrics, endocrinologists, pediatric, which is for children, doctors, specialists in hormones, did the study. And these kids were not counseled or the parents for any nutrition changes. So imagine if you're an adult and you're taking 2 red, 2 green, 2 purple, and 2 to 4 omegas. For goodness sake, it's only going to be better for you. Okay. So again, very specific. Why? If you don't, and you're not familiar with Juice Plus, again, we want to look at fruit, vegetable, and the berries. It's over 30 different fruits and vegetables, and it's carbohydrate free or very little carbohydrates. I've never had to count them ever, sort of like a vegetable, okay? Unless you take the chewables. And if you take the chewables, you're getting the serving of 1 fruit or 1 fruit, getting about 16 grams. Well, 1 apple's 15 grams. So you're getting 30. So it's wonderful for type 1 and type 2 diabetics. And then the omegas, of course, you're getting pomegranate and some other things in addition to the other fruits and vegetables. Okay. So if you need more information on that and you haven't attended before, make sure you talk to the person that invited you. Okay. All right. How about our next question? All right, you guys, I got to take this off. Make sure, are you all still smiling? I know it's late. You doing okay? All right, it's a little bit of fun, isn't it? Come on, right? All right. I mean, I'm trying to make it a little more fun. All right, awesome. Sharon, thank you for waving. You're still alive. You're looking all bundled up now. So there we go. All right. Okay, so when we look at if you do this right, you will most likely have a 1/3 or more lower risk of developing insulin resistance. Eating 3 servings of fruit a day, eating breakfast, or eating 1 serving of brown rice per day. What do you think? What does everybody think?
I think breakfast, eating
Eat
breakfast.
All right, anybody else? Anyone else want to guess?
Breakfast.
Oh, come on. All right, breakfast. Okay. And I have gone over this if you've been in the habit changers. So that's all right. It's eating breakfast. This is a very old study, by the way, and there's more studies. So I always tell people, since I was 15, I've done a smoothie every morning. I used to spend about $90 for a smoothie a month, and it tastes like crap. I used to hold my nose. I'm not joking. I still remember, and I'll be darned, and $90 back then, it was really expensive, right? I remember I was going to finish that darn thing no matter what. It was terrible. I actually held my nose. The complete shake is delicious. There's vanilla, there's chocolate. The Perform is a tart cherry. Just had someone today said none of their family liked it. Okay. I said, try the vanilla complete with it. It's delicious. And like most things, when you do something regularly that's good for you, your taste buds change. That is part of why the Children's Family Health Study shows why, as a dietitian, I loved it, because it showed children eat more fruits and vegetables. No one counseled them. When you eat healthier foods, your body genetic changes occur. Genetic changes, and you will eat healthier. Now, I didn't say eat perfect. And again, everybody's different, but really you want to eat breakfast. I've done a smoothie for a long time. I come from an obese family. I didn't know what to do other than overexercise. So that's why I've always done a smoothie. I didn't know what else to do. So the other thing is that now I make my complete with water. I add a scoop of Perform to it. And I have 3 shakes a day, at least 2, because I work out 1 to 2 times a day. And my husband does a little bit, and our kids do a little bit heavier. They'll do a Perform 2 completes. They'll put peanut butter, almond butter in it, vegetables, frozen berries. They don't have the same genetics I do. So it just depends on what you need. You can make it 140 calories. You can make it 500 calories, whatever you need. Okay. So, and you can also add greens from your tower garden, all different things. All right. If, and I always like to be fair, someone says, I'm not doing a smoothie, then do a smoothie after your workout or if for a snack. And for breakfast, the other option would be egg whites, a cup of berries, or an apple. Okay. Really perfect glycemic index, a lot of nutrition, but one egg white is 3.5 grams of protein. You need 21 to 28 grams of protein. It's a lot of egg whites. So just remember that you've got to do a lot of egg whites, 6 to 9, to equal the amount of protein you need in one meal. It's a lot easier. Sometimes my one son, who's a tennis player, he'll have a Perform, and he'll make a few egg whites and have a piece of fruit. But he's 6'4" and, exercising 4 hours a day. So it's very different. Okay. So there's ways to do that, but I like to give people choices. Okay. So those are some of the choices that you can do. If you are not over 50, you could have an egg yolk in there, with some egg whites. But if you're over 50, I don't recommend more than 3 egg yolks. I have tested people and over, almost everybody, somewhere between 45 and 55 develop where they have a reaction to the saturated fats, not the cholesterol, the saturated fats in the egg yolk. 2 whole eggs is as much saturated fat as you need per day. So it's really hard. It has a lot of nutrition, but just we don't want your cholesterol going up just because of the eggs. So make sure you stick with more egg whites. Okay. All right. Probably too much information. See, I get all excited and want to tell you guys everything. All right. You still with me? All right.
Yes, we appreciate all your information. Awesome.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, great. Okay. Appreciate that. Okay. Next question. What is the risk factor? It should say risk factor for developing insulin resistance? Age 45 and older, lower physical activity, or gestational diabetes, or having a parent, sister, or brother with diabetes? What do you think?
All the above.
All the
three.
above. Elizabeth says, what else?
All 3.
Anybody else?
I think 2.
Okay, anybody else? All right. And this was supposed to be a trick question, but Elizabeth is just too smart for us tonight. It is all of them. That's awesome. I love smart people. It's good, right? All of them. And you couldn't go wrong here. So everybody got it right? Because they're all of them. So that's good, whether you think it was one. And again, it was tricky, right? Don't you hate it when a teacher does that? Like when you get a grade, you're not getting a grade. So this is good, right? So it's all of them. And so it's really important, if you have an aunt or sister, make sure you're testing your hemoglobin A1C once a year, please. And if you're not active, you have an injury, you have fibromyalgia, you're paralyzed, you have other risk factors, please check your hemoglobin A1C, please. And if you're over 45, start checking your hemoglobin A1C. Okay, see, I'm a broken record. What should you check? Tell me, what should you check?
Hemoglobin A1C.
Thank you.
Hemoglobin
All
A1C.
right, that's right. Anyone else? Come on, repeat it. Hemoglobin A1C.
Hemoglobin A1C.
All right. If I see you on the street, I'm going to say, if you're over 45 or you have a sister, what are you going to check? All right.
Hemoglobin A1C.
There we go. All right, great. Okay, good. Repetition wins, man. I'm telling you. So you go in there with your doctor. I just saw my new DO, and she had a medical student with her. She said, "What's hemoglobin A1C?" I'm like, "Oh, all right." So sometimes you can be smarter than the doctors and nurses.
What do you want to look for in the results? You want a high number?
Okay, you came in late, right? Who was
Yeah.
that? Okay, yeah. So all right, so I'm gonna go back for Sharon for a minute.
There it is.
Okay, here we go. All right, we're going to go back for just a minute because we don't want Sharon to miss out. This is important. So she asked an important question, right? Hemoglobin A1C tells us the last 3 to 4 months what your average blood sugar was, not fasting glucose. So it should be under 5.6%. Under 5.6. So this person here has prediabetes, and almost no doctors will tell you until you're already diabetic and you've got to be on medication or insulin. So it's very, very important. And you don't have to be fasting. Hemoglobin A1C is how much sugar is attached to all your organs and cells. It never lies. Okay, so good question. And you know what? Sharon had the question. Other people have the question. That means you want to learn. So that's awesome. Thank you, Sharon, for speaking up. All right,
Thanks.
you bet. All right. Okay, so, uh-oh, no, I lost my cursor. There we go. See, this is good. I have to learn to navigate better anyway. So, all right, so next question. This is a big one. Now, this is one for the personal trainers and people that don't like exercise and so on, or are very stressed. What lowers prediabetes and insulin levels by 32% in our elders, 65 and older? What do you think? Resistance training, cardio
Resistance
aerobic
training.
exercise, stress reduction? Okay, I heard resistance training. Who else? Come on, just guess.
Number 2.
Number 2, cardiovascular. What part of the reason I like people to guess is your brain remembers better versus only listening, because it makes it think more. All the neural pathways get carved. So there is a reason that I do that, not to make anyone feel like they got it right or wrong. Okay.
Well, I think 1 and 3 too.
Okay, good. All right. Very important, right? Very important. So the answer is resistance training. And if you've been on our lectures, I have said over and over and over, you lose muscle as you get older, even when you don't get older. Muscle makes you sensitive to more glucose and insulin at any age. You have less problems with bone density. You get better mobility. Some of my favorite studies, this was a new study, it was so good. One of my favorite studies was when you go into nursing homes or assisted living with people over 70 years old. Most of them can't get out of bed or without a walker, or they need assistance. And we bring a leg press machine in. And we're talking a leg press machine where you're sitting, so your back is supported. And of course, they have PTs and health professionals with them, just very important, so what I'm saying here, if you haven't exercised, be careful, but they get them in a leg press machine, even if they have to bring their wheelchair over, after 3 months or less and up to 6 months, most of them can get out of bed and can walk just from a leg press. We've got to use our muscles. That's why when people say, I'm only going to swim, I'm only going to walk, I'm like, anything's better than nothing. Always, please hear that, right? Including, any kind of stretching, Tai Chi, all of it's important. But if you're only going to pick one, or you're serious about your bone density, insulin, less diabetes, you've got to strength train. Okay. And when we talk about strength training, the other thing to know is you don't have to be Arnold Schwarzenegger. Okay. I love the gym. Not everybody loves the gym. You can start with wall push-ups. You're using your body weight, resistance training. You can sit in a chair, right? We're all sitting in chairs. You have your feet on the ground, bring your feet up super slow where your legs are straight out, but you're sitting in a chair. And if you're older, you can hold on to the sides, hold it, and then go down for a count of 6. 1, 100, 2, 100, 3, 100, 4, 100, 5, 100, 6, 100. You do that for a while and you're not doing any resistance training, your legs are going to be shaking. It's safe for your knees. It won't hurt you. Okay. Please resistance train. Okay. All right. So isn't that an incredible number? Incredible. That does not include how bone density and other things, quality of life, are changed also. All right. So we're just talking about prediabetes and insulin here. All right. Insulin is released more with excessive protein, fat, or carbs. No, you can't answer, Elizabeth. Which one? Because she knows this one. She better know this one. All right. Okay. Protein, fat, or carbs? Let's hear it.
Protein.
Okay. Who else?
Carbohydrates.
Carbohydrates. All right.
Carbs.
Carbs. Anyone else? Protein. Okay. It's carbs. Okay. Now, anyone that overeats, or there's certain people that are different that can, again, if you eat no carbohydrates and you still overeat, the body can learn how to break down glycogen, which is just a different form of carbohydrate, and tissue, and also cause problems, but it's carbohydrates. Remember, we talked about the glycemic index. Notice those were all carbohydrates. Fruits are all carbohydrates, all of them. Okay, that's why when someone's type 1, type 2, or insulin resistance, I don't have people eat more than 3 servings or 2 servings or less of fruit and lower glycemic index. Berries, apple are some of the best. Okay, and a low glycemic index, remember, is a 1 to 55, especially if you eat it as a snack by itself. But you're not going to do that anymore after I teach you the next slide. Okay, because I'm a practical person. If you haven't worked with me or been on lectures before with me, I believe in being practical and real. One of the new studies in diabetes care, brand new study, so good, showed that if you eat lean protein and vegetables before carbohydrates, you have less heart disease, lower glucose, lower insulin. So that means if you're going out with your spouse, friend, child, and you want to have a glass of wine or a piece of bread, eat your salad first, get a protein appetizer and share it, like ahi tuna or shrimp or mussels or something like that, not fried. Okay, have 1 or 2 shrimp, have your salad without croutons, and then you can have a meal that has maybe a carbohydrate that's not so healthy. Okay, we're not talking about healthy ones, but especially unhealthy. You could have, unhealthy ones like bread or a glass of wine. I'm not saying to do that, or dessert, but I'm saying if you want to be practical and you have a harder time controlling yourself, or you want some fun foods, there are ways to fit it in. Isn't that awesome? The other thing I've taught my patients for years is always try to pair, if you can't pair a carb with a lean protein, pair it with good fats. One example would be the easiest example is like a tortilla chip. Let's say you love Mexican and tortilla chips. It's like, oh, not a great thing, right? Because you'll eat a basket of tortilla chips that are way too many. I can't eat 2 or 3. I don't like it when I go to Mexican just for that reason. And then there's salsa, and then there's margaritas. Goodness gracious, right? Not so good. But if you could control yourself, have a small margarita or none, and have guacamole, you're still doing better than everyone else at the table, whether type 1, type 2, or higher risk, because you ate a good fat that blunts the response from the tortilla chip. And tortilla chips for junk food is one of the ones that's typically not as bad as so many others. Not that it's good for you, but just again, tend to not be as bad with million dyes and food colors and crap in it. Okay, so isn't that awesome? Okay, you guys don't seem excited. I gotta look at it. Come on, all right, there we go. All right, come on, we want to be practical, right? Okay, all right, good.
Yes.
All right, so, okay, good. All right, so let's go to what's coming up. So we have Help Heal Yourself from Cancer with Dr. Bill Sears, 47th book. If you missed the first one in September, talk to the person who invited you. We did record it. Phenomenal. And the next one's November 17th, 6 p.m. Central or 7 p.m. Or for someone like in Washington, like Sharon, then we're talking 4 p.m. Dr. Sears is in California. He'll be 4 p.m. He's going to be specifically, one of the things I love about the book, besides his practicality, remember he's a pediatrician, so he can explain really difficult things, even like cytokines, that anyone can understand. But what I really wanted is this one, he's going to talk a lot about how to wisely partner with your cancer caregiver or any provider. He had to himself change oncologists. He's an MD, one of the #1 pediatricians in the world. He had to change oncologists because they just do the same thing with everybody. That's true with thyroid. That's true with so many diseases. So you want to be able to find out how to ask questions so you partner with them. It's your body, but you also want to make sure you find a good expert that is helping you stay healthy. So make sure you invite everybody. It's only one time. Habit changers are twice, and we only have one more, okay? Our next habit changer is our last one of the month. After 48 of these for 2 years, we offered this because of our community and because of COVID. We're only going to be doing about 4 a year after this. And then, of course, whoever invited you will do some other medical events. But we have one more coming up the first weekend in December, and it'll be on respiratory resilience. So if you have anyone that needs that type of help, it'd be really great to learn some other facts. We'll see if I have time. If I have time, we'll do the quiz format because everyone seems to like it. And it's kind of nice, the last 3, just because we've had 2 years of a lot of facts. So we're going to make sure that you are able to remember them. Okay. So any questions? Any questions? All right. Oh my gosh, we did so good. So you're going to put your omegas on your face tonight or in the morning. You're going to give your dog the capsules, right? Because they're getting a little bit of those omegas and that vegan capsule, and they're going, oh, I got a treat from my mommy, right? So, all right. So Deanna, make sure you do that with your pups, man, all right. Okay, you
Are
got
they
it.
okay for cats?
Good question. It would be fine for anyone. Cats are finicky. But I give my cats ahi tuna, and I do put a little bit of the omega on. They eat it no problem. I have not tried the capsules with the traces of it. So I'll try it. I'll try it with mine if you'll try it with yours. How's that? We'll find out. They'll probably play with it. They love when I do my shake in the morning. I open all my capsules, and I can swallow fine. It's just something I've done for 20 years. I open my capsules. I purposely take one of the gels and I throw it on the ground. They do not eat it. They bat it around and have so much fun because it makes noise. But I know if they eat it, it's fine. But I have not tried with the omega. So that's a good question. So we'll find out. Anyone finds out, let us know. That'd be
Yep,
fun.
the omegas are good for all animals because
Yeah.
it helps their skin, and you give cats usually some kind of fish in their diet anyway.
Yeah. I just don't know if they'll eat it. You know how some cats are really picky.
One thing
Our
to
brother and
consider,
sister. Yeah.
the omegas have
Uh-huh.
essential oil of orange,
Uh-huh.
and cats cannot have that
Yeah.
because
Thank you for
it has
letting us know that.
limonene in it, and that's
Yeah.
toxic to their livers. They will be okay.
Yeah.
The buildup over time will be toxic for their livers. The
Yeah.
omegas are fine. The essential oil of orange is not.
Yeah. So it's different, right? So one of the things, and we can ask too, we can ask one of the vets I know really well, and actually my cousin's a vet in Tampa, is the amount that's in like what you have in the capsule. I really don't think it'd be a problem, but I don't want to give misinformation. So thank you for that, Linda. Yeah.
Yeah, the amount that they get if it's diffused, they've
Yeah.
found cats getting toxic liver in a room
Yeah.
where they've diffused orange oil.
Yeah, but you understand what she's talking about, right? So we're talking about essential oils, or like there's a inside a peel that we use for reflux, that type of thing. So we're not talking about what Marilyn was showing.
Right.
Linda,
It's specific to the essential oil of orange.
Yeah.
And the active ingredient is D-limonene.
Yeah.
Limonene.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. So, all right. Okay. All
Angie
right.
had a question.
Yeah, go ahead, Kate.
No, Angie did, I saw.
Oh,
Yeah,
sorry, Andy. I'm sorry,
okay,
Andy.
so I have someone in the family that has type 1
Yes.
diabetes. So
Yes.
all of these things that we went over will help reduce the amount of insulin he has to take in.
Usually. Yeah, when I
Usually.
say, when I deal with type 1, and I mentioned it this morning, sorry, Angie, I didn't talk about this particular part, is that when someone is willing to do the capsules, the omegas, and the shake, especially the complete. Now, I don't have as many, I think the Perform would be fine. I don't know if it'd have the same effect. I mean, it has the protein, but it doesn't have as much fiber. But I have multiple type 1 diabetics in my office, and 2 in particular that are very compliant. They have been able to get their hemoglobin A1C down and their insulin output, and they're both on pumps, and they're also very, very, very detailed people.
Okay,
One
so
is
when you say the hemoglobin A1C down, like what level are you?
like most type 1 diabetics are hopefully somewhere between, they're not, you can't compare to type 2. They're usually between 7 and 12%.
Okay.
This person is 7 to 8, where he was running way over 10 and 12 for his whole life. Yeah.
Okay.
The other thing, Angie, that's important about this is, let's say their insulin insulin amount doesn't go down. And most people, they're using somewhere a quarter to a third less insulin after a year, is what I have found. Now, I don't have thousands like in other things like the omega test. But the other thing is, number one thing is they're at double the risk, no matter what age, for cardiovascular disease and arterial changes. So we know that the Juice Plus capsules and essential fatty acid, Marilyn gave you that answer. How many studies for essential fatty acids for everything in the body? 10,000 or more.
Okay.
So if you have an increased 50% increased risk of being, when you're type 1 diabetic, you want to be doing things, whether your insulin or hemoglobin A1C goes down, that protects your cells and the oxidative damage. It's extremely important.
Okay.
extremely important. So that's a really good question. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well,
I just tell
Valerie,
people, don't expect an overnight result. That's ridiculous,
Yeah.
you know, so it takes time. And we did talk about this morning too, with another question. You know, it's 3 to 4 months for red and white blood cells to turn over, about a year if you're compromised, and up to 7 to 10 years before every tissue, if there's prescription medications, insulin, and so on. So it's not a fast process, but you're going to get older anyways. Why wouldn't we want to do things that are good for our bodies, right?
Right.
But we are an instant gratification society. We've got to look at the long term. Yeah.
We have a question from Kathleen Lemaire. Are you a certified nutritionist?
No, so I'm a registered dietitian, which is much higher. Registered dietitian means you have to have 4 to 6 years of school. My degree is food and nutrition science, and then you have to do a medical internship and or a master's degree. So I had to go and do rotations for a year in every different area, oncology. I worked with the Cleveland Browns, renal, all of it. So registered dietitian is the highest over any other type of nutritionist or what have you. So I always teach people, and there's all different kinds of nutritionists too. Some people can get a nutrition degree 2 days over the internet. Some have to go to school or 2 years. Everything's different. Registered dietitian is the highest, and it's included in every state in the United States. I don't know about Canada, where it is automatically, I can get a license anywhere. Yeah, in the United States with being a registered dietitian. Most people that are registered dietitians, unfortunately, tend to work in hospitals and in food service. And that's, you know, when I was going to be a registered dietitian, my family was shocked. But I said, I've got to know all the biochemical and medical pathways, because most people are going to have an accident or be on medications or have a medical event sometime in their life. And I better know what I'm doing. And it also helps me, doctors, nurses, health professionals respect me. They know I've done all those medical rotations, not as long as they did, but it's a good question. Any questions else over that? Did I answer that?
She says, thanks for answering my question.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, great. Okay. All right, you guys have a wonderful night. Thank you so much, Marilyn, Patricia, all the participants. Elizabeth, you would have won prize tonight if we were given prizes. So we're gonna
Oh,
give
thank
Patricia
you
an
so
extra
much. You're
woo-hoo.
awesome. You teach me something no matter what. And I absolutely love you. You always are awesome.
Thank you. All
Yeah,
right.
it's always good to hear some stuff from Val.
And I am
Really
so
sharp.
happy to know I'm an excellent type 1 diabetic because my hemoglobin A1C is a 7.1.
That's very good. I mean,
I work hard.
I'm always trying to work, you know, people will go and the doctor say, oh, you're doing great at 15%. I'm like, no, you're not. No, you're not. So that's fabulous. Yeah, keep it up. Really good. All right. And again, if you're not type 1, no matter what, you want under 6% and then under 5.6%. If you're between 5.6 and 6%, you're still doing damage, even with prediabetes, 24 hours a day.
What would you say if somebody found out they have a hemoglobin A1C of 5?
Yeah.
And I think she's hyper or hypoglycemic.
No, that's still not
No?
hypo. Now, and you're thinking because you're type 1, so it's very different. It's really not until it's 5.4 and 4.4 and under for a non-type 1 diabetic. That is not too low. Yeah. Yes, even 4.5, I start to get a little worried. Are you eating enough? Are you malnutrition? Are you in ketosis? How do you feel? You know, so, but type 1 is different because again, you're regulating insulin and we don't want you to go into coma. We don't want you to feel bad. We don't want to have you overdose in insulin because then you go up, you know, and down. We want that hemoglobin A1C to be 7 to 8%. It's really hard to get type 1 diabetics there. They have to work really hard. So, yeah, so great job. Okay, so that's why she knew a lot. Plus, she's been attending lots of events too. So we want to give her credit for that.
I'm learning a lot.
Yeah. All right. Okay, you guys. All right. Wonderful to have everybody there. All right. Good night.
Valerie.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye.
Night. Thank you.
Right, thank you.